The Edinburgh night was shrouded in a thin mist, the ancient yellow lamps casting shadows on the cobblestones in front of the Theatre Royal. A months-long event, a special screening to celebrate a decade of Outlander, was about to begin. Fans from all over the world were pouring in, holding posters, photos, signed books, but the thing they were most looking forward to was one thing: Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe appearing together. It had been a long time since they had stood side by side on the red carpet. Work, new projects, personal schedules, all had gradually distanced them from the public eye. But for those who had followed them since 2014, the distance had only fueled speculation. And tonight, the atmosphere was about to explode. A fateful moment on the red carpet. When the flashbulbs started to flash, Sam appeared first. Still tall, broad-shouldered, and with a calm smile, he wore a finely tailored black suit. The audience cheered loudly, but Sam only nodded politely. Those blue eyes scanned the crowd, searching for something or someone. Half a minute later, the cheers doubled. Caitriona stepped out. She wore a long, silver, flowing gown, with a delicate neckline that made every step exude elegance. Her hair was tied up high, her eyes were deep and smoky gray. The image made the entire red carpet area stop moving. But what made everyone freeze was not her beauty. It was Sam's eyes. As if he had just seen something he had longed for all along. Caitriona moved closer to him. They exchanged a light hug, a familiar ritual. But this time, whether by accident or on purpose, Sam's arms held her longer than usual. People standing nearby noticed. Cameras immediately started to fire. "Long time no see," Caitriona whispered in a soft English accent. "Far too long," Sam replied, her voice low enough for only she to hear. As the two of them walked inside the theater, they all had the same feeling. Something had changed. Backstage, where boundaries begin to shake. The screening went smoothly. They sat next to each other, laughed together, and looked back at the scenes that had made their names. But what made the audience more curious were the moments when the camera wasn't on them. In the fifth row, a lucky fan saw Sam tilt his head and say something that made Caitriona laugh. She leaned in to respond, her lips close to his ear. The intimate moment quickly spread across social media. But everything really started when the screening ended. A private room behind the scenes was prepared for the cast to rest. Only the most important people were allowed in. When Sam pushed the door open, he didn't expect to find Caitriona standing alone, looking at the photograph of Fraser's Ridge on the wall. "You know," she said without turning, "every time I see this, it always feels like I'm coming home." Sam stood next to her, hands in pockets, eyes quiet. "Because you're there," he said softly. Caitriona turned. Their eyes met, not the eyes of two colleagues, but the eyes of two people who had shared the deepest things, the most emotional moments, the rains, the cold mornings, the shaky takes, the long hours of waiting. 10 years was no small number. "We tried to keep it professional," she said, her voice hoarse. "I know that. I know." Sam sighed. "But you also know there's a line that we're both on the edge of." Caitriona was silent. That line, they had kept it for years, despite rumors, despite fanship, despite the silences that made them both suffocate. But tonight, it suddenly became strangely fragile. As Sam took a step closer to her, only a few centimeters between them, Caitriona's eyes wavered slightly. A knock on the door interrupted. "Sam, Kate, you two are invited to the stage to meet the fans." They both stepped back, as if the line had still managed to tighten one last time. But neither of them knew that the long night was still ahead. After the event, fate chooses the moment to speak. The after-party took place at a luxury hotel in Edinburgh. Soft music, warm yellow lights, sparkling champagne glasses in the hands of guests. Sam and Caitriona were separated by dozens of greetings, small talk. But throughout the evening, their eyes were always looking for each other. As the program gradually ended, a light rain began to fall outside the glass door. Sam decided to leave the party first, find a quiet corner to escape the stuffy atmosphere. He walked up to the hotel rooftop, where the wind blew strongly, but was extremely peaceful. A few minutes later, the door behind him opened. He didn't need to turn around, he knew who it was. "I guessed you would be here," Caitriona said softly. "You always guess right." She walked closer to the railing, the cold air making her shoulders tremble slightly. Sam immediately took his jacket and draped it over her shoulders, a simple yet intimate gesture that made both their hearts skip a beat. "All night, I've been thinking," Sam began. "Are we hiding something the whole world can see but us?" Caitriona held her breath. "Sam, no, let me finish." He looked her straight in the eyes. "I've tried to forget what it felt like to see you smile, to hear your voice, to stand next to you in every scene. But for the past 10 years, the one thing I haven't been able to do is step outside that boundary." Caitriona closed her eyes, raindrops falling on her eyelashes, mixed with hard-to-hide emotions. "You know how complicated my life is. And mine is simple." Sam chuckled lightly, but without sarcasm. "We're all bound together. But you feel it too, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be standing here." She opened her eyes, silently. The air thickened. The rain fell harder, the wind blew harder, but they didn't leave. It was a moment in their lives when they were alone. "Sam," Caitriona said softly, her voice trembling like leaves. "We can't hurt anyone. We can't let this cross the line. But what if that line is hurting us?" She didn't answer right away. Then, like a decision she'd been waiting for, Caitriona looked up at him. "So tell me, what should we do?" Sam didn't answer in words. He just took a step forward, and then another. The distance between them disappeared. The rain fell around them like a misty curtain, the city lights below creating a shimmering backdrop. Sam reached up and touched her cheek, his hand cold but almost desperately gentle. Caitriona didn't pull away. And then, what the world had waited years for finally happened. They kissed. Not the Jamie and Claire kiss in the movies. Sam and Caitriona's kiss, real, strong, as if all the years of holding back had just burst out. There were no boundaries in that moment, when everything had spiraled out of control. After the kiss ended, they both stood in silence for a long time. Neither spoke. What they had just experienced was too intense to put into words. Caitriona touched her lips, where they were still slightly numb. "Did we just?" "Yes," Sam whispered. "We really did it." She took a deep breath. "Sam, this is going to change everything." "Maybe things have changed a long time ago," he replied. "We just don't dare admit it." But as they re-entered the building, no one knew that a glass door on the opposite floor had accidentally reflected their image, and a party guest had just seen it all. Within hours, strange tweets began to appear on social media. "I just saw the unbelievable between Sam and Caitriona. Is anyone else at the Balmoral tonight? Something big is happening." In less than a night, the news had spread like wildfire.